Hi, my name is Jay, and I'm a doll collector from Sydney, Australia. I would like to start by thanking Rachel and the VDC crew for allowing me to participate in this wonderful October event for all collectors around the world to share information and their love of collecting. Please join me for some story time and show and tell about part of my collection, which is something a little dark about it, namely their skin tone. My ethnicity is an unusual mix of black and Asian. When people ask which country I'm from, I say guess. They never guess correctly. Growing up, I never felt I was represented in toy shop shelves. In the 80s, even in Australia, Mattel didn't bring out entire lines. Oh sure, there was a Teresa thrown in here and there, but even she was few and far between. Very rarely would you ever find a Christie on the shelf. Most recently, it was the 55th anniversary Christie which caused a little bit of a stir. For some reason, she was released early in Australia. When shown online, the photos were called fake, only because no official photos or release date had been announced yet. Other collectors only had to wait 2 weeks. Distribution has improved greatly in the last decade or so, with the release of such lines as Fashionista and the Looks line. But some still get missed. Most recently, Look Series number 17 and 25 weren't released at all. Even number 4 only turned up in one toy store chain. Yeah, these dolls were also Ken, but so I'm not sure if they were using the old trope of boy dolls don't sell. As a collector, I have gravitated towards darker skinned dolls, not only as a representation of myself, but as a fashion statement. I think that skin tones can bring out a different vibe to an outfit. It can elevate the colors and bring a little something different to an ensemble. And sometimes it brings out different details in the same face sculpt. These days, representation is being addressed in many ways, with Barbie Roberts being introduced. No, not that one. Barbie Roberts, nicknamed Brooklyn, while the stereotypical Barbie we have come to know is called Malibu. I really wish the Barbie movie had referenced the Barbie Roberts name rather than the one they chose. In a what-if scenario, vintage reproduction Barbies were produced in a darker skin tone. Both these Barbies sport a nod to the original black and white swimsuit. The vintage reimagining has no changes to the face paint or styling, and even has a vintage pronged stand. Playline Brooklyn has a unique body, which is a little more curvaceous than her Malibu counterpart. 1988, Takara launched Lady Luminous. She was an 18-inch doll with more realistic proportions. She came in 3 skin tones, and shown is the darkest of the 3. Her fashions were very of the 80s era. She even harked back to vintage Barbie, as she had 2 long poles to keep her upright on her stand. She has very limited mobility, only at the neck and arms. When I started collecting larger dolls in 1999, I was introduced to Summers and Field, the mod British birds produced by Knickerbocker, designed by Doug James and Laura Meisner. One of the characters, Daisy Field, was introduced as British Hindu, something very unusual at the time. On the left is a prototype Daisy, who is hand-painted and hand-styled. These dolls were used for most of the promotional material for the first series, and were re-sculpted for the production versions. Although similar in style, there were changes that are noticeable when placed side by side. The following year, Esme would be introduced as part of the Tyler Wentworth line. After seeing this girl, I was smitten. Esme was a pre-med student when Tyler discovered her at a bookstore and subsequently asked her to model for the Wentworth line, and model she did. Since glamour styles for Esme were limited, Esme tends to borrow some of Sydney's clothing. I think she brings a whole new vibe to the clothes, especially when teamed up with different hair, eye colors, and hair textures. In 2015, Tonner released the 21-inch American model, whose measurements were upscaled from Tyler. 2 years later, an African-American version was made available. Here, wearing an olive cocktail ensemble. In 2012, Lizette was introduced to the Elwyn Wild line. Being a new girl in town, she brought her own take to the Wild fashions. She came in 2 skin tones, honey and spice, with spice being a little darker. Showing off the creativity dolls inspire, Spice is in a VDC ensemble, and Honey in an original Vince Nowell. In 2023, Nima joined the crew and blew everyone away with a fabulous variety of hair textures and lip colors. Not to be outdone, Nima's grandmother Z came on the scene this year. Whether she's styling the latest mod threads or wishing you a safe flight, she's bound to take you on an adventure. Angelique was introduced in the Evangeline line, although short-lived with only 7 styles produced. She looks fabulous in lighter colors, which is kind of rare in the line. Sometimes dolls were produced using existing sculpt with a changed skin tone to be a different character. The Jack sculpt is now Kagiso. Aunt Regina is Madame Mist, channeling a very witchy Patti LuPone. And Angelina is Dina from the movie Dreamgirls. Only 1 doll of Kagiso was produced, with the darkest skin tone for a Tonner doll at the time. Shown is a sample Kagiso with platinum blonde hair, a great counter to the Raven production version. In 2010, Esme was produced with a lighter skin tone as well. Friday Foster was a standalone doll line based on the 1970s comic strip. She was the first African-American title character in a comic. Unfortunately short-lived, her sculpt would return as Diane Evans as part of the Hollywood glamour line. Kadira was a collaboration with Robert Tonner and Andrew Yang. In her darker skin tone, she exudes glamour with a smattering of freckles. Dressed in an Andrew Yang original gown, she reminds me of the sea. The Ryan Roche collection was introduced in 2018 with 4 basic dolls and 3 separate knitted outfits. Midnight is the only dark-skinned doll to be produced with the RTB 101 body. She can't wait to try on some of the outfits in Grace's closet. In 2020, Sindy was slated for a relaunch by Kid Creations. One of the dolls was called Country Chic, a dark-skinned Sindy with a purple and grey outfit, and a little dog. Purple and dark-skinned, my favourite combination. Unfortunately, this doll was dropped for a blue-haired ice skater Sindy. Thankfully, the following year, toy vlogger Sindy came out as part of the playline. In 1992, Disney introduced us to Jasmine, the first princess of colour. Here she is resplendent in a purple version of her teal outfit, elevated from the movie with sleeves and a train with embroidery. Pocahontas came in 1995. She's seen here 18 inches tall, using the supersized Barbie body, the first Mattel doll to be produced with a tattoo. Tiana became the first African-American princess for Disney in 2009, and here she sports what has to be one of the biggest gowns ever produced. Lastly, a Cinderella based on design by Black-owned brand Creative Soul Photography. She has an Afrocentric edge, adorned with natural hairstyle and African-inspired fabrics and ornaments, while still referencing the original design with the coach purse and detail around the waist. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have presenting it. I hope you enjoy the rest of the October event. Thanks to VDC. Bye.